Hello, welcome back to the Ask Dr. Be Good show, where we focus on the good things happening in public education. Today, we are going to focus in on something that is becoming a bigger problem, and the need for a podcast was triggered by an article I read about diabetes. The stats around diabetes, especially child-based diabetes, is staggering. And so there were some stats that I read that led me to say to our RN at Mesquite to say, hey, let's go talk about this on the podcast. So before much further, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Hello, my name is Maggie Ortiz. I am the RN at for Legacy, but I am based out of our Mesquite campus.
And I thank you for being here. Do we have kids with diabetes at Legacy?
We do. We do. We have 4 in Mesquite and 1 in Plano.
And so diabetes is an interesting illness because it actually has 3 types. I believe I said 2 in the post. I need to correct that. There's actually 3. Type 1, type 2, and then gestational.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to talk about gestational. That happens when you're pregnant and so forth. So we're going to leave that one alone. But Nurse Maggie, would you talk a little bit about the differences between type 1 and type 2? We have a video that will highlight it, but let's
Sure.
talk about that before we show the video.
Well, type 1 is mainly only seen in children. It's where your pancreas is just not working properly the way that it should. As to where type 2 is based more on diet, and it's more seen in adults. However, it is seen more now in children. Unfortunately, nowadays, with diet.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more. This is a personal thing for me, too. My sister, who's a year younger than me, has type 1.
Okay.
And she got it when she was 9.
Mm-hmm.
We were living in Bolivia. We were eating very whole foody, and yet she got it. So that really helps me understand that wasn't that's something that can't be prevented. If you have a genetic predisposition to type 1, you're going to get it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
As my sister did, my grandfather had it, and so forth. So let me just mention my sister is 60, and she lived in Houston in her 20s and 30s, and she piloted the pump. A lot of people don't know what the pump is, but that's a way of not having to inject yourself every day.
Yes.
And it has really made having type 1 diabetes much more tolerable.
Yes.
Because her skin, after 15, 20 years of giving herself a shot in first the arm, the next arm, the stomach, the left leg, the right leg, the stomach, and back, her patches of skin were super hard. And so for her to be able to regain her skin tone back due to the patch.
We do have a student in an elementary at Legacy that has the pump. So, and he actually has the freestyle system that they are now using, that you just kind of wand my phone over and it gives me his blood sugar.
Wow. So he doesn't have to prick his finger?
No.
Wow, that's going to make it even easier for them.
Yes.
Good. I'm glad. If we have to have type 1 diabetes, let's make it so that it's not so awful for children.
Absolutely.
Let's go ahead and have the first video recognizing the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes.
26 million people have it, and millions more are expected to get it. But the truth is, most of us could avoid the predominant form of diabetes.
There's different classifications of diabetes. Most of the people in the United States that have diabetes have type 2 diabetes. It used to be called adult onset diabetes.
The less common form is type 1 diabetes, which is naturally occurring. Type 1 is an autoimmune disorder which used to be called juvenile diabetes, since it's most often diagnosed in children and young adults.
The difference between the types of diabetes, type 1 diabetes is a situation where the pancreas no longer is making any insulin at all.
Unlike type 1, type 2 develops slowly over time when the body stops managing insulin correctly.
Type 2 diabetes is a combination of someone not using their insulin efficiently or not making enough of insulin.
A notable difference is that unlike type 1, type 2 diabetes can be averted with some changes in lifestyle. Stan Hillman learned the hard way after he was diagnosed with type 2.
And I guess I brought it upon myself by eating the wrong stuff and never thinking that this would catch up with you. But it does, it catches up with anybody.
Risk factors include excess body weight, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, low activity, metabolic syndrome, and age. The wake-up call made Stan...
Okay, so now we are having a little bit more information about the difference between type 1 and type 2. I read recently that 1 out of 4 people in the United States have type 2 and they don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
That's scary because there's damage being done to their bodies right now that they don't know is happening. Let's go ahead and show the video on a day in the life of a child with diabetes. We're not going to show the whole day. You can do that. It's a 20-minute video. We're going to show the first couple of minutes because this is her morning routine at home. And then I'm going to ask Nurse Maggie to talk to us about what happens when they get to school.
Good morning, guys. Today is World Diabetes Awareness Day. And to help celebrate that and create awareness, we've partnered with our friends at Gluco to do a day in the life of a diabetic.
We're all right, we're all right. Sun comes up tomorrow, we'll beg, steal or borrow a new game plan.
Hey, good morning, Aspen.
Morning.
How are you doing this morning? Hey, let's check your BG, okay?
My diabetes bag is upstairs. I'll go grab it.
Okay, see you in a second. Aspen has to have a bag with her all the time. It has all of her diabetes supplies. It's got special supplies in case she goes low. It's got backup supplies in case her pump doesn't work for some reason. If it stops working, she still has to be able to get insulin or else she can go dangerously high. Okay, so here's how Aspen checks her BG. She puts the test strip into the Omnipod PDM, which also doubles as a glucose tester. So she uses an alcohol swab or she has to wash her hands because if there's any sugar on her fingers, it can mess up the reading. She takes that, she wiped away the first drop, and now she's getting a reading. And it takes about 4 or 5 seconds. And there you see, her number is 182. So Aspen, what is in range for you?
70 to 150.
So you're just a little bit out of range, so it's going to want to do a correction. What else is it going to ask you?
It's going to ask me if I want to eat now. Next.
Are you
Are
going to
you
eat
going to eat
now?
now? Yeah.
And then
hungry.
what are you going to have? A bowl of cereal? Okay, so let's look on there and see how many carbs it is. Is
25.
25. The milk is 12 grams of carbs.
Does she want a cup of milk? Or do you want that much?
Will you do a cup of milk?
Probably like half a cup.
Oh, half a cup. Okay, good catch. So how many carbs will that be? Instead of 12, if you have
6.
half, it'll be 6. So 25 plus 6. So as you can see, there's lots of math throughout the day.
31.
That's right. This is a relatively simple meal, but there's still a lot of math that has to be done. Okay, so now, given the carbs, it's going to give her 3.4 units. And
This is my pump.
her pump is doing it. So this is now putting the insulin into her. That's their Omnipod. And when it's done, it will beep.
Do I have to wait 15 minutes today?
Good question. So every time she takes insulin, it takes a while for the insulin to kick in her body. About 15 minutes. And so she
50?
takes...
Is that what you said?
No, just 15.
I thought you said 50. I was like, what the heck? After 15 minutes today?
All right, so you see that there's a lot of work that is done in the morning before they get to school.
Yes.
What happens when they hit school?
Not much changes. I actually have a student that has a system very similar to that, and when they get to me, they've usually already eaten breakfast. Parents take care of that just like this young lady's. But I make sure that the teachers are educated as far as any type of snack, any type of food, anything that they're going to eat or drink. They need to come see me first, and we basically do just like that. We go over their snack, their lunches. They come to me 10 to 15 minutes before lunch as well, and we calculate their carbs, whether they bring it or I'm calculating what we're serving there at the school, and we administer insulin, whether it's through a system like that or they have a syringe and insulin that they use. So
there's a lot of having to work with you, the family, the child.
Yes.
It's a daily hands-on.
Yes. All of us have to be on the same page. I think the hardest is the kiddo because they're young.
Yeah.
But yeah, it works pretty smoothly. Parents are on board, student and myself, as well as their doctor. So yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's the reality of school today.
Mm-hmm.
That we're going to have kids with type 1 diabetes, and that we have to work with the parents, with the child, and the doctor to make sure, because there are serious repercussions if things go poorly.
Yes. Yes.
Even you mentioned one child got the flu last year, and just things went haywire.
Mm-hmm. And he was pretty controlled, and just something like the flu can cause that to get out of whack and have them checking it again and insulin again, but it can always be monitored as long as they're doing what they're supposed to.
All the adults around them are doing what they're
Exactly.
supposed to. Right. Super. So let's go into a little bit more deeply into diabetes type 2. And the reason I say that, again, the stat that I read in the article had to do with a study they did of a group of 8th graders, a grade level, and a very high percentage of the kids all had pre-diabetes. So they're well on their way to getting type 2 diabetes. Talk a little bit about the name change of type 2.
So it actually has gone from an adult-only diabetes to now children from even the ages of 10. Just in here in America, 1/3 of American youth is now considered type 2.
Whether they know it or not.
Right, exactly.
And there's that hidden factor that we're trying to bring to people's attention. Let's go ahead and run the video on type 2 diabetes, and then we'll talk more about it.
When you have type 2 diabetes, your blood sugar level is too high. Here's how it works. After you eat, your body breaks down carbohydrates into glucose. Your body uses sugar, or glucose, for energy. The glucose is absorbed in your small intestine and moves into your blood. Beta cells inside your pancreas sense that your sugar levels are rising. These cells release insulin into your blood to move the sugar into your cells, where it can be used for energy and to bring blood sugar levels down. Most cells inside your body have spots on them called receptors that connect to the insulin. Insulin acts like a key in a lock to open up the cell so that the glucose can get inside. Now your cells can use the sugar to make the energy they need to do their job. But when you have type 2 diabetes, your cells can't use insulin like they should. Over time, your pancreas stops making enough insulin. If you have insulin resistance, the insulin cannot unlock the cells to let glucose in because the locks don't work. As a result, glucose is locked out of your cells and builds up in your blood. That leads to high blood sugar or hyperglycemia. To help bring blood sugar down, your pancreas makes more and more insulin. Your overworked beta cells try to keep up with the demand, but as time goes on, they can't make enough insulin, and your blood sugar stays high.
All right, so that gave us a little bit more of a scientific slant to type 2. How would we know? you said something sort of scary. You said a third of kids have type 2 diabetes. Some know it and some don't.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of symptoms are we looking for?
I always go with 3 big ones: increased thirst, increased hunger, and increased urination. Those are the 3 big ones. However, there are some, like in children, wetting the bed at night, anxiety, mood changes. Those are also some symptoms that you want to look for. But yes, excessive thirst is a biggie, as well as excessive hunger and urination.
Yeah. Now, what can a parent do, now that we've scared some parents, what can a parent do to see if their child has pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes?
I mean, if you've noticed any of these symptoms in these kiddos, I would recommend getting into their pediatrician. Something as easy as a finger prick to check their blood sugar is what it takes to kind of see if they could be. And then from there they go on to, blood work and things of that sort. But just a quick visit to the doctor and letting them know what your concerns are.
Now, when I asked you to be on the podcast, what research did you notice that said how we can prevent type 2 diabetes in children?
Activity and diet are huge. Just going out for a walk with your kiddos in the evening and just making sure that they're eating the right things, less processed foods. I know that we're always on the go. I know that's just the way parents are nowadays, and picking up a quick burger sounds easy and quick, but it really is doing a disservice to our kids. So, eating well, activity, maybe putting them in a sport if time and money allows, that would be great. But if not, just something as simple as going to the park and keeping them active.
Yes, we have done previous podcasts about nutrition, and really this is part of it. This is what happens when you take some nutritional shortcuts. And so we do need to, again, be able to tell parents some strategies in how to have a healthier lifestyle. So let's talk about breakfast. I know that cereal is a go-to, but if I were queen of the world, nobody to have cereal ever again.
No, lots of carbs, sugar.
Yeah. And so if we don't eat cereal, what do we eat instead?
Fruit, homemade granola. Oh my gosh, fruit would be my go-to. We talked about a couple.
So we talked about whole wheat bread with marmalade with and I'm calling it marmalade, jam, jelly. That's low sugar or no sugar. It's completely natural, with fruit, so that there's some substance there. How about lunch? What are some good lunch?
Oh, let's see. Vegetables, grilled chicken, even a turkey burger. I know, those are some things that kids want to have, and it's still possible to have. It's just maybe even in moderation, but kind of find the healthier route.
One of the things that I hope we can do over time is move people away from thinking they need to have meat at every meal.
Right.
I mean, I've actually had people say that to me. I have to have meat at every meal. No, you don't. And it's killing you.
Yes.
And so helping understand that the way that we're currently eating is leading to a third of our kids having prediabetes or already have type 2. And something I read was that, and I may have mentioned it previously, but I'll say it again because it's that important. People who have type 2, children and adults who have type 2 diabetes and don't know it, are still getting the damage from it.
Yes.
So can you speak to a little bit of the damage that they might be?
Oh my goodness, kidneys. It's bad on your kidneys. Not knowing about things like that or not managing it well can lead you to dialysis at a young age. Your vision. Yeah. That's another big one with diabetes, blurred vision. Those are the 2 big ones that come to mind, but there's so many. Or your nerves. You have your You have neuropathy.
Yep.
So many things.
So let's see. We've got the lunch, and it can still, you can still do, for example, peanut butter and jelly. Just looking at each of those, making sure that your bread is low sugar and whole grain, that your jelly is a more natural jelly with low sugar, because they add sugar. They shouldn't have to add sugar to peanut butter, but they do. And matter of fact, they sometimes add salt. So really becoming a label reader is imperative in our world, so that we can move away from the possibility of as an adult or as a child getting type 2 diabetes. What about dinner? What can we have for dinner?
Dinner, veggies, like you said. You don't have to always have your meats, but I mean, veggies.
How about eggs? Having eggs for
good.
Dinner.
Eggs are good.
You know, scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
Limit the bacon.
Yeah.
I don't know how bacon has gotten the status of being like this wonderful food that everybody must have, and they they sing songs to it now. I mean, bacon is very processed meat.
It is.
And so
it is.
Using some of the most favorite meats or favorite foods that we know are not good for us, to put it in the category of just a couple times a year, is probably a good decision. Some foods we need to look at as fudge. Everybody knows you shouldn't eat fudge a lot, right?
Right.
When do you eat it? Christmas. When else? I can't think of any other time that we really have fudge around. Maybe we go to a seaside vacation and they have fudge as part of the walk, and so we'll maybe buy some fudge. But we don't think of eating fudge every day.
No.
That's how we need to get with bacon.
I agree.
And so eggs with avocado.
Oh, avocado's awesome for you.
Avocado is a fantastic oil.
It's a good fat.
And matter of fact, I've started using avocado on gluten-free bread as my butter. And then I'll put salsa on it. Makes a fantastic breakfast.
Yeah.
And I gave it to my 84-year-old dad, and he thanked me for that. He had never had it because he's used to jelly. But when I put the avocado and the salsa on it, loved it.
Avocado toast is a good breakfast choice, actually. Yeah.
Matter of fact, you see that in some
You
restaurants
do.
now.
Uh-huh.
Avocado toast.
They offer
breakfast.
it, yes.
Beans.
Beans are good.
You know, beans have been around for thousands of years, and they have held up as the protein go-to for most countries in this world. Now, in those countries, you can add the rice to it for a couple of reasons. One is because the rice is safe rice. We overprocess our rice, and we don't leave any of the good stuff in there. And we also have so many other carbs in our life that's just another carb. But in a, I hate to say a third world country, but that just relies on beans and rice. That's a good filling meal.
It is.
And it gives them enough protein, enough carbs to have that life that they need to toil and harvest and so forth. So I would encourage more beans, more lentils. I'm trying to think of meals that I now live off of and enjoy. I will take, wild and crazy, but I will take a head of cauliflower. I'll slice it so that I have cauliflower slices. I call them cauliflower steaks.
Oh.
And then I'll grill garlic, onions, cumin, paprika, Himalayan salt, and pepper, celery salt, and get that going. And then I saute my cauliflower in there, and I absolutely love it. And so, and it's very filling. It's low calorie. It's all veggies. And if you think of food as medicine, as I do now, cumin, all of those herbs are medicinal. And so encouraging all of our families to look at herbs and other long-time cooking practices from their culture might be a good idea, and it would be fun. I mean, let's say that you're Hispanic and you're from, let's say, Mexico.
Okay.
And so you're saying, you know what, I need to learn how to cook black beans again, and pinto beans. And so you have these different type of beans that add variety to one's diet with cilantro and onions and different herbs. Matter of fact, go ask Grandma, right? Don't put the lard in it, though. Find something else to put in there.
Even my dad now, he grew up in Mexico, and he's huge on his pinto beans. Like every day for work, that's what he takes, a bowl of pinto beans with some onions on it, and he's good to go. So it is crazy what you would learn.
We really need to summarize this with the fact that we have children and we have adults of our children who more than likely have prediabetes or type 2 already.
Yes.
The research is bearing out when groups are studied that a third to or more of kids and adults have that because of the diet.
Right.
And so it's not and exercise. You can't just eat right and sit still in front of the TV.
Exactly.
It's a combo of exercise and diet so that you can get your body functioning again. Get your pancreas functioning correctly.
Yes.
So that it doesn't lead to a breakdown of your kidneys and other organs. And if you need more information on how to eat right, we have previous podcasts that you can search and get information on eating healthy, exercising, lots of ideas so that this serves as a wake-up call for our families. If you're already doing everything that we've said, congratulations. And, keep doing it because, as I said in a previous podcast, we're trying to get all of our families to a lifetime maintenance food plan. Because if you eat poorly now, your body will make you pay for that in 20 to 30 years. When you see people with the cancers and the inflammation and the high blood pressure and the fluid around the heart, that's all from years and years of poor eating.
Yes.
So I hope that you will think of this podcast the way it's meant, and that is as a wake-up call, not as a gloom and doom. But we love our families, we love our children, and we want to do what's best for them and get the most important nutritional information to you all so that we can continue having happy, healthy families at Legacy.
Absolutely.
So having said that, we've come to the end of our podcast, and Ms. Ortiz, I can't thank you enough for being part of it and for helping keep our kids healthy.
Absolutely.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ask Dr. Be Good show. For more information on Legacy Preparatory Charter Schools, visit our website, legacypca.com, or call 469-249-1099. And remember to like us on Facebook, where we stream live weekly Tuesdays at 3 p.m.